$6 IPAs on Fridays, and $6 Bloody Marys on Saturdays. Stop by Tuesday through Thursday from 4 to 9 p.m., Fridays 4 to 11 p.m., Saturdays 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Sundays from noon to 8 p.m. It's Salt Mine City, Lincoln's newest brewery at 8th and R.
Landmark Implement, your John Deere dealer, invites you to their annual sprayer clinic at the Buffalo County Fairgrounds in Kearney on February 5th and 6th. This hands-on event offers expert training on John Deere and Hagie sprayers, covering topics such as machine maintenance, spray tip selection, and exact apply technology. New this year, classes on autonomy preparation, see and spray, and variable rate operation. Don't miss this opportunity, February 5th and 6th in Kearney. Learn more at landmarkimp.com/events.
Ever wish you had another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started. Husker fans, this season, Nebraska is celebrating 50 years of Husker women's basketball, and they need you to help celebrate. You've shown up for women's hoops from the start and continue to prove that Nebraska fans really are the best in the nation. On Sunday, January 26th, the Huskers face Big Ten opponent Ohio State, and they're calling on all Husker fans to help pack PBA so they can celebrate 50 years of Husker women's hoops together. Get your tickets now and be a part of this historic season. For event and ticket information, go to huskers.com/tickets.
Just wrapped up as Williams turns the corner, two more into the line, a chance for three. Bryce Williams hustle down to the block, post up, and go to work now on 93.7 The Ticket. And the offensive rebound, fair game, Butunjel. The post-game post-up is sponsored by Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical, and Lincoln Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits. Here's a CJ, same spot, Sanderson. He is red hot. A siege in ahead, half-court use. It goes and it counts. Aaron Eulis with a half-court three. On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome into post-game coverage of Nebraska men's basketball here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Austin Orman, Harrison Orange with you here. Eric Strickland joining remote, my co-host during On the Block, chiming in for post-game. Huskers get it done 86-72. If you have any thoughts on the game, let us know. 402-464-5685, the number to our starter, Heyman Jewelers. Text line post-game coverage, as always, brought to you by the great people at Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical, as well as Lincoln Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits. Truly a tale of two halves for Nebraska and Washington. Huskies led it by 10 at the break, 47-37. Huskers flipped the table and then some, 49-25 second half for the Huskers as they win it by 2 touchdowns, making their last 5 field goals, closing it out at the free throw line as well. Eastrick, they got it done. They took care of business. They found a way to do it. What do you make of the Huskers coming away with the 86-72 victory in this one?
Great game. Listen, when you say the tale of two halves, you've got to look at it from a standpoint of there are teams like that, you know, they're coming off of a win. They're feeling good. They've come off of a long losing streak themselves. They're at home and they go 7 for 7 and really 8 for 8, other than the block by BK out of the corner. That you just, all you got to do is you've got to say to yourself, can they continue to shoot like this? And most times, most teams, it just doesn't happen. So your goal is to just stay close, stay in the game. Now, they had tremendous opportunities to keep it under double digits in the first half, which you would have felt a little bit better about, but you knew going into the half, they'd have a conversation. I'm sure Fred would discuss that with them, and that, listen, they can't continue to play like this. You're playing. They looked a little bit flat as far as, you know, their communication, not necessarily their foot movement. It was as if Washington was getting some really good looks. But the difference between Washington in the first half as well is they were really moving the ball. A lot of skip passes. The ball really didn't stay in the hands of any Washington player for any amount of time. Second half was a little bit different. They were doing a lot of extra and over dribbling. So you got to feel good about that. But the rotations got a lot more crisp in the second half. And those same challenge, now those shots that they were getting that were open became challenge shots, and they began to miss. And you found Nebraska just continuing to scrap. Now, I got to give credit to Hoiberg, because Hoiberg, the little dives on the floor, scrappy plays, different things like that. And it was also Connor Essegian going 4 for 4, keeping them in the game and having a really good game off the bench as well. Those are some of the things that we saw. There's more to discuss, but that's just a good overview of what happened tonight. You go on the road, man, and get 80 some points. You shoot over 50% both from 2 and 3. Where there was a rebound difference early, we talked about it via text that there was a little bit of softness in that area. They kind of were getting after them a little bit. They had an 11 rebound lead, which then shrunk to only a 1 rebound. I think Nebraska had either by 1 or down by 1. Down 1. So that was something that made up the difference there. The execution was good, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And those are some of the things. I'll get into the details as we get further along in the postgame show.
Yeah, we won't keep people far too long here. Just make sure we're on schedule for everything in the morning. Shout out again to Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical, as well as Lincoln Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits. Strick, this is a game that we've seen go off the rails for Nebraska before. Like you said, the Huskers took Washington's best punch, their second best punch, in really the first 7, right? Washington starts 7 of 7 from 3, 9 of 16 from 3 in the first half for a team that comes in only making 6 threes per game. And they still end up, the Huskies, shooting an even 40% from 3 in the game, despite only shooting at about 32% from 3 coming into the game. Previous Nebraska teams maybe fold, and certainly this team 2 weeks ago probably hangs its head and doesn't necessarily find a way to fight and crawl back in the game. I thought it was going to be Washington's night a little longer than it actually was, because every time Nebraska got it down to 7 or 8 points, seems like Washington would answer right back, with Osibor finding someone making plays in the middle. Harrison had a good comparison. He's a little Derek Walker-esque, a little bit more stretch potential than Derek Walker showed, but he's a good player, right? He'd absolutely made some plays for Washington. You survived Makai Mason, probably second or third best game of his career, not just season. You found a way to do it. And that's what we talked about a lot today during On the Block, Strick, was with Washington coming off a win, you know they're going to get the best punch, but can Nebraska withstand that? Does Nebraska have the mental toughness to find a way and get a win on the road? And honestly, Strick, the 14-point advantage that it ends up with belies just how easy it looked for Washington in the first half. That wasn't just a good, gutted out, grimy win for Nebraska. That was a darn near dominant second half from Nebraska on both ends of the court.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Definitely dominant on the second half. And some notes that I took on that is that obviously the rebounding was definitely better, the execution. But one of the things that I really want to harp on is they did something that you and I have discussed many times in this. One, they played with toughness. That's what you want to see on the road, and just by way of execution, just being able to grind them out. And that's what they did. You saw backdoor cuts out of Essegian. You saw great finds out of Hoiberg, getting down into the paint and finding Gary. Great pick and roll execution, faking ball passes, and then hitting threes. You saw a lot of great stuff, but again, finding the mismatch. So examples, what we used to see in the past, and this is what I talked about, just point guard IQ stuff, is they would come off of a ball screen, a pick and roll, get the switch, and remember what I used to say, the play's over. Like, whatever you were running, once you got the mismatch, the play's over. And you saw Bryce recognizing that and going to BK a couple of times and getting a couple of baskets down low. And then a couple of times getting the switch, having a mismatch up top. You saw Bryce square up a couple times, hit a big three, open the game up by 13. Those are the things that you want to see, especially when you're trying to build on a lead or get back into a game or grind out on a team, and you notice that they took good shots tonight and they were able to complete them and make them. They didn't settle. Great game all the way around. And then you love the fact that they finished it off with free throws. Like that's something that's beautiful to see, especially when we saw a little bit of struggle early. We saw that there were opportunities to push a lead or really get back into the game, but they didn't do so at the free throw line. And obviously with Morgan, and he's not very good. I call him Shaq Morgan. So, but it's all good.
That was something Harrison and I had circled as a moment to watch, Strick, if it was going to be Harry late in the game for Nebraska, was Morgan getting the hook and hold around his face for the face mask penalty, essentially going down, missing both free throws. I mean, he's pretty much right in line with his career average now at just under 60%. So he's not a good free throw shooter. So he misses those 2 free throws. Nebraska still gets the ball after the flagrant foul, and they don't have a great possession. Asijan has to throw up a little bit of an off-balance contested runner, and it was still, I believe, a 4-point game at that point, but Nebraska found a way to dig in, get a few stops, and hit some shots down the stretch. The offense was good all night long, 29 of 55 on the night. Raleigh Wooster 4-5 at the free throw line down the stretch. Asijan hit his pair. Hoiberg hit a couple, Williams and Gary. It was really a full team effort. I want to make sure we get the text line involved here. I know, Harrison, I appreciate you flashing through some of the comments on YouTube for us there.
That's our guy, Strickland. Don't worry about that. Strick's got the comments going.
Oh, good job, Stricky. Well, good job, Stricky. Sorry to not give you the credit you deserve. Not bad. We got producer extraordinaire Harrison on the board for us here. Cubsker says, bad teams have a good half every now and then. Other than that, Nebraska had a great defensive effort, shot well in the second half, got a lead, and didn't really flinch much afterwards. That's just the thing, Strick. I got a tweet from, I think it was Husker Jim on Twitter. I'm going to scroll back and see if I can find it here because I think it's important. Yeah, he said at halftime, this feels like when any team plays Nebraska in football. Their below average quarterback suddenly looks like Tom Brady. Nebraska is a get right team for the Big Ten. It's the contribution to the conference. Play Nebraska and you'll hit your season high in triples, which, to be fair, Washington, went off. One of their better shooting performances of the season, continuing a trend tonight. What's different is Nebraska survived a team shooting 39% from 3 or better. But what I want to focus on from Husker Jim's tweet here is I get the feeling, because that is what it feels like, especially in football, right? You play a team with a backup quarterback, a freshman third stringer coming in off the bench or whatever it is, they go off, whether it's lack of scouting, game plan, anything against a quarterback with that different skill set, maybe. It does feel like that happens to Nebraska in football, in basketball. And I don't want to discredit that feeling, but Strick, I do think that's incredibly short-sighted, and where I think Husker fans should step back and see the bigger picture, because you know what? Oregon had Nebraska coming into its building for a get-right game after losing 3 out of 4 and after getting smacked by 26 on the road at UCLA. And Nebraska wasn't Oregon's get-right game. Nebraska came out with energy, only trailed after the opening dunk, got a lead, kept it, withstood punches there. So, yeah, I'm sure fans are scarred from, most of the last 2 decades of Husker basketball. I'm sure they're still scarred and recovering from the 6-game losing streak. But Oregon was a great example, and I think even tonight, too, maybe Nebraska did mentally turn a corner. It's still more evidence to be seen, still plenty more games out there for the Huskers to prove it. But, yeah, it looked bad in the first half, but Husker fans got to take a little step back and say, hey, this might not be the same team that we watched 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's not. And again, they look like they're having fun playing together again. They're talking. They're coming when they're walking off, going into timeouts. If there's an issue, it's not like they're just walking it off. Like sometimes if you have an issue on the court, or there's you were supposed to be somewhere that you didn't go to, or you went somewhere that you weren't supposed to go. And sometimes you'll just kind of blow it off if you don't like the guy, or you don't care about the guy, or you guys have some schisms going on within the team construct. Then what happens is those things just kind of compound, and then it becomes more problematic throughout the game. But you're seeing that they're having conversations. They're discussing a bad rotation or a missed rotation or something, and they're talking that out on the court. That means that, whatever it is that they were dealing with and what they were going through, and what, maybe some internal issues that they were dealing with, you can tell over this last stretch that they've worked some of that out.
That they have. On the text line as well, Thunder Not Collins says, we're winning the whole thing. Pin it, Stricky. So there's some dose of realism from Husker fans. I shot back a couple laughing emojis, and he says, don't do that to me, especially with Austin wearing a Duke hat and no red. To be fair, I am wearing the Duke basketball hat. The Blue Devils went on the road and stomped the Syracuse Orange today. But also, to be fair, Harrison can confirm this. I was wearing a red Husker jacket when I walked in, a red Husker zip up. I just had to take it off. I got hot in that conference room, just like the Huskers got hot in the second half. So don't come at me when you don't have the whole story, Thunder Not Collins. That's all I'm going to say.
It was blue. Thunder Not Collins.
Hey now, I'll hold it up right here on camera. It's right here, okay? No color adjusting. It's all red. It's right here. There, proof. Brad on Twitter says, man, if that 6-game skid would have been like 4-2, Nebraska would be ranked, which is fair. Nebraska had, opportunities against Rutgers and USC to get off the schneid earlier than they did. But here's the thing. The Huskers now have followed up a 6-game losing streak with a 3-game winning streak, and they come home for 2 consecutive games. A big one against a decent Ohio State team that, like we talked about, is in the same realm of the Big Ten standings as them, and then a game against Maryland, who Nebraska played tight on the road during that 6-game losing streak. Obviously fell to the Terrapins. They get another crack at them, this time in the friendly confines of Pinnacle Bank Arena. What is the focus for the Huskers now coming off their West Coast road swing with 2 pretty big home games in front of them?
Well, they're going to leapfrog against Oregon because of the fact that they have that lead. They're back in the middle of the pack. They're going to have a chance to, as I said earlier on the block, is chop down on a few of those individuals that are up there that will continue to help them to move up the ladder of the Big Ten. So they've got to continue to play the way that they're playing, and that's with poise and execution and with fight and with fire and continue to defend and play hard nose all throughout the rest of the conference season. There's quad 1 games available with net ratings that are really high with teams that they're going to face coming up, and that's going to give them a great chance with those wins to not only get towards the middle upper half of the Big Ten if they can pull it out, but they can also give themselves a chance to get some of those quad 1s that will help them.
There's Strick. Sorry to interrupt you, but we got to wrap up here.
Yeah, no problem.
We'll call it a post-game show. More reaction starting at 6 a.m. tomorrow with early break. Me, Strick, and Jay will certainly break this game down more from 3 to 5 tomorrow on the block. Thanks, Action Plumbing. Thanks, Lincoln Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits. Thanks to you, listeners. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Wall-to-Wall Wine & Spirits is your place in North Lincoln to go for all your needs in wine, spirits, and beer. They also have a large variety of cigars in their walk-in humidor, and they have a top-notch walk-in, temperature-controlled, high-end wine bar. Plus, you can enjoy free samples from their tasting book. There's only one place to go for all your needs for wine, beer, spirits, and cigars. Wall-to-Wall Wine & Spirits on North 27th Street in Lincoln. Golfing in 72 degrees and perfect conditions in Nebraska doesn't seem possible in the winter, but it is. Double Eagle Golf is your escape from the bone-chilling cold outside and a reason to keep your clubs out year-round. Book a bay with some friends for a weekend or come by for golf and happy hour on a weekday. Spring leagues begin in February. Get signed up today.